All right, good evening, guys. Let me know in chat if you guys can hear me okay. We're going to do a briefing for the upcoming winter system that is set to move in tonight into the Sunday and Monday time period. So do me a favor here, if you can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up in chat. If the audio needs to come up or down, let me know. But we're going to take the next 10 minutes or so and talk about what to expect with this winter system for the next couple of days. I'm not going to go into my whole spiel here until I see some audio confirmations from you guys on your end. So somebody in chat, let me know, please. There we go. Perfect. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Bracy. Appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and start. I want to first start off by saying, thanks for tuning in. We have a lot of information to unpack here. Let's try and dive in, be simple and detailed, but yet thorough. So let's go ahead and dive in. So if you don't know, we are tracking a system that is moving our direction as we speak right now. It is just off to our west in the Illinois region, and that is quickly moving our direction here as the evening goes on. So current radar, as you can see on your screen here, we're seeing that precipitation start to move into the state. That will continue to push in overnight tonight. Jumping ahead to the forecast model, this is the short term, we call it the HRRR model. It's a highly trusted model, especially for severe weather, but winter weather as well. We're going to move this into the 9 p.m. Eastern. All times tonight I'm going to speak in are going to be Eastern time zone. So if I say 9 p.m., it's going to be Eastern. So here is tonight, 9 p.m. Here is 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And by about midnight, you're going to start seeing that snow, rain kind of mix across that northern half of the state. We could also get a gusty storm perhaps down here. There's actually a severe risk, low-end severe risk down there today. We're not too confident in that occurring, but just be mindful. We could have some gusty storms down further south of the state here, primarily south of I-70. But as we move toward midnight, this rain up here in the northern half of the state is going to change over to snow. And then we're going to be moving this into the 2 a.m. time frame here. That snow will continue to change over, and this is pretty heavy snow as well for the northern half of the state. By the time we get to sunrise Sunday morning here at 7 o'clock in the morning, that snow is still lingering around there. By the time we move toward that noon time frame after we get out of church and as we're waking up on our Sunday morning, that system is pushing off to the east. And then round 2 comes in with lake effect snow on the Lake Michigan area. So round 1 here, overnight tonight, starting right around midnight, we'll see some wet snowflakes start to change over for northern Indiana. Let's talk about accumulations for this first round. All right, so the NBM, the National Blend of Models, is what we're going to use today. It basically takes a lot of different models and combines it into the broad consensus of what each model is saying is going to happen. So that first round here, we're starting to see an inch or two across that northern half of the state. Now, with current ingredients, we're putting a human touch on things. We do feel like we could get maybe 2, maybe 3 inches in some spots. It's not going to be significant. It's going to be a nice coating, and yes, it likely will stick, briefly at least, and some roadways may be a little bit slippery in the mornings, but for the most part, this should accumulate more so on grassy surfaces throughout your early Sunday morning. So if you're leaving somewhere, if you're especially north of Kokomo, be mindful. We could have some slick spots out there to start Sunday. 1 to 3 inches across pretty much the entire north half of Indiana from about Kokomo on northward is the going forecast here for round 1. So not a huge deal. Round 2 in our focus is really keying in on the northwest corner of Indiana. We're talking Lake, Porter, LaPorte, Stark, Marshall, as well as St. Joseph, maybe Newton, Jasper County areas, those vicinities up there in far northwest Indiana. And that is because as the system departs off to the east, the winds then shift. They start coming from the northwest, and that colder wind is going to overlap the warm lake waters of Lake Michigan, and the combination there, when there's moisture involved, equals lake effect snow. So with the winds turning more northerly, this is going to be a very potent lake effect band here across that northwest corner of the state. And that's going to continue on into the day on Sunday. We're going to actually take this, we're going to run this hour by hour into the Sunday afternoon time frame. Now, keep a close eye up here in northwest Indiana. Look how much snow accumulates here by the time we get to Sunday night. Here Sunday at midnight, we're at 4 inches, and then really starts ramping up here overnight Sunday into Monday morning. Now we're at 6, 7 inches, 9 inches, 10 inches. Basically just starts plastering that northwest part of the state in, it could be 5 to 10 plus inches of snow. And again, this is going to be for the very far north and west corner. We're talking Lake, Newton, Jasper, Stark, LaPorte, St. Joseph, Marshall counties especially, that could accumulate some decent snowfall here. But that snow continues all throughout the day on Monday into the early part of Tuesday as well. So once it starts during the afternoon and evening on Sunday tomorrow, it's going to continue for several hours, if not a few days. So it's going to be a long duration snow event. As we push this into Tuesday evening into Wednesday, the snow then stops, and then we are left with what's left, and that's going to be potential for some significant accumulation. So when all said and done here, on your screens are snow totals here, all the way down through about the Indianapolis area, we could see some snowflakes fall for sure, but it's not going to stick, or it has a hard time sticking. Now, up here north of Kokomo, where you see the blue colors, that's going to be your 1 to 3 zone. But then the zone for lake effect is up here, and that's going to be your zone. We're going to be looking at the 5 to 10 inch zone. All right, this is the National Blend of Models. We also have the forecast from the National Weather Service that was put out this afternoon from the Northern Indiana office. So Valparaiso, LaPorte, South Bend areas, the darker orange colored there, they're saying 8 to 12 inches of accumulation starting Sunday at 1 p.m. through Monday evening, 7 p.m. That's going to be upwards of a foot of snow in some spots. In the yellow color outside of the darker orange, we have the zone of anywhere from 4 to as much as 6, 7, 8 inches of snow. And then the dark blue color starts kind of tapering off the further east and south you go. 3 to 4 there for Goshen, Warsaw, Rochester, Monticello at 2 inches, Albion, Angola, Fort Wayne, Huntington, Marion, Peru, Portland, all between an inch or two of snow when all is said and done here with this lake effect system. So definitely a lake effect event certified. We get these a lot November, December time frames. It's not unusual here in Indiana, but it's the first snow of the year. It's going to be impactful regardless. So if you're out traveling up in the very far northwest part of the state, I would highly, highly advise giving yourself extra time throughout Sunday evening, especially Monday morning commutes. It's going to be bad. It's going to be slippery out there. I would say if you're traveling the major intersections within the 8 to 12 inch zone, I would say try to find alternative route, or perhaps delay your travel if necessary, or if possible, should I say. It is likely going to be hazardous. In fact, I think the wording from the NWS this afternoon suggested it could be life-threatening in nature, and that's just because it's slick out there, and there also could be whiteout conditions. Whiteout conditions are due in part mostly to the fact that these lake effect bands are very potent, so heavy snow, but another factor we got to keep an eye on here is the wind. The wind gusts throughout Sunday afternoon and evening could gust as high as 35 miles per hour for those lakeshore areas. On your screen currently now is the wind. We're seeing the model predict 35 to 40 mile per hour winds for that Gary area up there by Lake and Porter counties, especially down very close to the lakeshore, right where the main highways are. So the combination, heavy snow, blowing wind, it's going to be whiteout conditions, and that's why it is life-threatening and deemed life-threatening in terms of travel. So putting it all together here, winter storm, first of the season here. Round 1 tonight into Sunday morning, dumps about a 1 to 3 inch coat across north of Indiana, Kokomo North. And then lake effect ramps up, and that is where we see more in the way of accumulation for lake effect belts across the very far northwest corner of the state. Those bands may stretch further south and east inland. If it does so, it shouldn't amount to too much like further south. We're talking like White, Cass, Fulton, Miami, Wabash, Kosciuszko counties. Those counties, not going to see as much snow, but still could get a few inches of accumulation here or there as those lake effect bands kind of drift back and forth. That's like a fire hose effect, as we call it. So that is your forecast, guys. Feel free in the comments to ask any questions you may have. Timing on this, heaviest of snow for lake effect will be sometime late evening Sunday into the early morning hours on Monday. So most of it's going to fall, the heaviest, should I say, is going to fall overnight while we're sleeping. But by the time Monday morning rolls around, it will definitely be a winter wonderland across northwest Indiana. And before anybody asks this, yes, it will stick. I know the ground temperatures are quite warm, and you are correct. They are on the warmer side of things. But when we have snowfall rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour or more, once there's a layer of snow on the surface, it becomes much, much easier for it to accumulate on top of each other. So once we get that fresh coating of snow, it becomes much easier from there. So it may take a second for it to start sticking, but once it does stick, it will start taking off. And we do expect accumulations to breach these totals you see on your screen here. All right. One more thing I want to bring up here is the fact we do have winter storm watches in effect here in the counties in blue. We're talking Berrien, Cass up in Michigan there. We're talking St. Joseph, Marshall, Stark, LaPorte, Porter, and Lake counties over here in the northwest corner of the state of Indiana. So those winter storm watches in effect for 8 to 12 inches of snow. I actually think it's 6 to 12, actually. Well, get the official verbiage here. I don't see it, actually. But we're talking 8+ inches of snow, essentially, in those watch areas. Those will likely turn to warning sometime overnight tonight into early Sunday morning. So I see a couple questions in here, about Chicago. I know we're not covering Chicago here at IWN, but Chicago does have potential to get walloped by this system. But lake effect snow is a little tricky to forecast, and that's largely in part because the way the wind deviates and shifts, the lake effect bands, they will shift with that wind. So even just a small deviation of the wind direction can deviate that snow band 5 to 10 miles. So it's a difference of somebody getting 2 inches and somebody getting 12 inches. And that's the nature of lake effect here. So Chicago's in one of those zones where we kind of expect them to get some snow. We just don't know how much. It could be 2 inches, but latest models suggest the lake effect band may drift that way more. Some models have as much as a foot of snow in Chicago. So we'll have to kind of play that by ear. It's kind of tricky, and that's all in part and thanks to our wind direction and the way it shifts. Some things are just not known until it happens. This may be one of those things we just don't know what's going to happen for Chicago until we actually see it happen. Please nail us in Crown Point. That is an interesting take, but you will likely get a lot of snow up there. So how many of you guys in chat here are saying, heck yeah, I want it to snow? And how many of you guys are like, bring back summer? What about Terre Haute, Indiana? So Terre Haute, not expecting too much, if anything, in the way of snow down there. Could see some snowflakes at very most, but for the most part, the accumulation and snow showers will stay up to your north, primarily north of I-70. Renee says, I do. Yeah, some people are cheering on the snow. We want snow. Other people are just like, it's too early for that. Bring back summer. So no matter what side you take, you can't stop it. It's coming. So LaPorte County is under the winter storm watch, and yes, the heart of the heaviest snow accumulations is expected for you guys there in LaPorte County. The heaviest accumulations are going to be across Lake, Porter, LaPorte, St. Joseph, Stark, and Marshall counties. David says, let it fall in Winfield, Indiana. Christian says, I like warmer weather over the cold weather. You should be fine, Anderson. Anderson is, you could get some snowflakes with the first round here, but for the most part, lake effect snow should stay to your north. On your screen currently is the forecast from the NBM model, so it's a blend of everything put together. As you can see here, most of the accumulation is right around Kokomo and points northward here. There's a possibility we could get some, gotta slow down when I'm talking. There is a possibility we could get some wet snowflakes further south, like across the Indy area, but overall, it shouldn't stick. Rensselaer is in a good spot for this in terms of getting snow, but the majority of accumulations, I'm going to say they're going to probably be just to your north in the Porter County area. But I still think you're going to sneak in probably a good 2 to 6 inches if I had to guess. Maybe more if the lake effect bands deviate just right, but I think 2 to 6 is a good number for you there in Rensselaer. We will be live tomorrow and also likely into Monday morning. We have our chasers as well as our chasers up in Michigan who will be chasing this event. So live coverage will commence likely tomorrow afternoon or evening sometimes. So we'll keep posted on that, but we will have live coverage from the Northwest Indiana area. Lafayette, I'm going to say a couple inches at most for you guys. I think you're a little bit too far south in terms of the heaviest accumulation. We could still see a couple snowflakes and a couple inches accumulate between both the round one coming through tonight and also lake effect snow bands that could deviate further south there. But overall, the accumulations are going to be much further north. I do want to zoom in here. I will go ahead and just kind of play what if, okay? What you see on your screen over the next like 2 minutes or so is not a forecast, but I'm going to show you different models and different solutions for snowfall, all right? So this is the RRFS model. We're going to run this all the way through the time frames there. This RRFS model is the model that's saying it's going to be further to the east. It's saying winds are going to deviate over here to the east into the Michigan area over towards South Bend and Elkhart. This is one of the models that just has everything pushed way too far east. So we're not really buying this solution right now. Now, the HRRR model here, this is, go back to the 18Z here. This is the latest run here of the HRRR. As you can see, the winter storm watch counties are getting pretty well hammered. And then also Chicago in this case as well. But the accumulation goes over here toward the South Bend, Elkhart area too. And I guess kind of cuts off about 2 or 3 counties into the state here down by that Pulaski and Fulton County lines there. So that's going to be the HRRR model, which is the one that's usually pretty spot on with these lake effect events. Then we have the NBM, which we just looked at here a few minutes ago, the NBM model here. This is what we're kind of going with as a solution for a middle ground. This is what we kind of think is going to happen. So anywhere from 6 to 7 inches in most spots. Then the heaviest of bands, we're likely going to see 8, 9, 10 plus inches. Would not be shocked with these lake effect events that we could get 16 or more inches in very localized areas. But that, of course, is highly uncertain where it's going to happen and if it's going to happen. But this is definitely an event that we have to watch that it could happen. This forecast we're going over is for tonight all the way into Tuesday morning. A time frame for central Indiana, whether it's going to be snow or rain. I just joined, so I apologize if it's already been answered. So central Indiana, we're talking like Indianapolis Central, that part. We're not really looking at much in the way of any snow. Going back here to the future radar, let's go ahead and walk you guys through what it's going to look like here over the next couple of hours here. So back it up, current time, 6:30 or so. So it's going to be right about here. That precip is moving into the state hour by hour here. Let's go into the midnight time frame. Here's midnight. Snow starts for northern Indiana. We also got some rain further south here. These could be gusty in nature. Severe weather, I wouldn't say it's expected, but chance of a strong gust down there definitely on the table. Now, hour by hour, here's 1 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., into Sunday morning now, 9, 10, 11, here's noon, 1, 2, and 3 p.m. And we go into Sunday night here, that lake effect bands continue to ramp up there, and then we clear out that system off to the east, and then lake effect takes over and dominates the northwest part of the state. Now, do take note, as you're going to see here, these lake effect bands can and sometimes will deviate further south. Not going to be as strong as they are close to the lakes because there's not enough instability up there. But further south, we could get some snow showers that will accumulate some broad accumulations, inch or two possible in some areas. But for the most part, backing it up here for central Indiana, starts as rain overnight tonight. Gusty winds are possible. Wake up tomorrow morning, brief changeover to snow. And then from there onward into Sunday evening, off and on snow showers with lake effect bands in the area. It shouldn't amount to much for you guys, but don't be shocked if a couple areas get 1 to 2 inches in localized spots. No problem, Allison. Good question for the northeast corner of the state of Indiana. So northeast Indiana is not really a prime spot for lake effect, but between two systems, system 1 tonight into Sunday morning and system 2 from Sunday afternoon into Tuesday morning, we could accumulate 2 to 4 inches for that northeast part of the state. So what's on your screen currently starts at 1 p.m. on Sunday. It does not account for what's coming tonight. What's coming tonight may dump 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3 in some spots. So best case scenario for you guys, 1 to 5 inches or so of snow for that northeast corner. That's from Angola, Fort Wayne, Huntington, down toward Bluffton, Portland area. The lake effect snow is we're really keying in on for higher amounts, and that's, of course, by Lake Michigan. Thank you, Maxwell. Good point here in chat. Thunder snow. Thunder snow is possible throughout Sunday evening into Monday morning. That is due in part to a lot of instability around for these lake effect bands to take a hold of. So yes, don't be shocked if you hear thunder while it's snowing. It is a thing. It has happened many times before. It's pretty cool to witness. In fact, a lot of storm chasers like us here go out to the lake effect events and they try to hunt thunder snow because it's so cool to witness. So yes, South Bend is in the heavier accumulation. We're looking at roughly, when all said and done, anywhere from 5 inches to as much as 16. A good central consensus is 8 to 12. All right, guys, been live here for about a half hour or so. So I'm going to start wrapping things up here soon. Any final questions in chat, feel free to drop them in. Like I said before, we'll be live tomorrow evening with our chasers. We're going to partner up with our Michigan side of operations as well. We'll have multiple chasers out from both states in the Northwest Indiana and Southwest Michigan area. So we'll have coverage of that coming your way tomorrow evening, perhaps Monday as well. I don't see any other questions rolling in chat here, so I am going to hop out. And if you guys have further questions, I'll monitor comments behind the scenes here, and I'll type out responses manually if I have to. But would appreciate you guys. If you have any more questions, feel free to let it be known. In the meantime, you guys enjoy your evening. We'll have updates on the page later on tonight and into tomorrow morning on any updates that do happen. In the meantime, stay safe, travel safe, and let's enjoy our first winter taste of the year. Stay safe, guys.